Hey y'all, it's Renegayde, and I hope you're ready to spill some more reality as we get into the latest episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 9. Let's get into things right away and introduce our legendary, beautiful benefactresses who will be kicking with us tonight through all the stars, styles, and spectacles of episode 7, Meeting in the Ladies' Room. Sadly, Cody will not be joining us tonight, but we do have our other regular co-casters joining us again, so let's welcome back the only person to carry more fruit in his between me down there than Nina West. It's QuackrrJack. Jack, how are you feeling tonight?
I feel like you just set me up for a fat joke. Like, yeah, I have thunder thighs. Yeah, that shit's gonna not release unless I squat properly. But damn, during Pride Month, that's
I
messed
can't
up.
believe I went there. Oop, my bad. At least you didn't wear white pants, though.
Oh,
Well,
never. Not after Labor Day.
let's also welcome back. But actually, not only is he late, he's also stoned. It's Whiskers. Whiskers, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great. No, I feel like I wanted to play into the answer. I'm doing fabulously. Slowly putting together different aspects of this episode that I may or may not remember, but there we go. That's my character for the night, Stone.
It did kind of honestly, not only did it kind of fly by, but I feel like this was probably maybe the weakest episode of the season. It just like narratively there wasn't much there. It felt like we got a lot of like the challenge, and it felt like a lot of the same shit that just kind of happened over and over again. As like an overall thought on the episode. Do you have any thoughts on this here, Whiskers?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same thing. It's definitely up there for least memorable of the episodes. It had its moments, like all of the others, but not. I don't know. We were kind of discussing this, like the twists, the goops, the gags. Maybe were there. There was at least one. We'll get into it as we usually do. But it just, yeah, it felt very cut and dry, very standard, very meh.
I just feel like maybe it's the acting challenges, and maybe I'm just not really a big fan of them. I don't know. Jack, did you have any thoughts on the episode overall, as far as like where you would rank it is on the scale of the episodes this season?
You know how people say that season 7 is one of the worst seasons if we're not including All Stars 1? It was like watching that, but even worse. And it's like you didn't have to tell me there was a writer's strike because bitch, I knew when I saw the writing for the challenge. I was like, normally it's very set up. Like these acting challenges are kind of like the makeover where they do that. Ooh, one girl's going to do really well, but instead this time they're like everyone gets their own scene, and some of them are just not funny at all. And we played off certain things for certain girls, and then some of us couldn't think of anything, so we just went the most generic role we could. Ta-da!
Yeah, it was. I don't feel like there was anything truly specific to everybody. Maybe I just didn't understand the references. I don't know. We'll get into it a little bit later here in the podcast. But let's go ahead and start out with a little bit of drag tea that happens over the week that we like to start out here. And tonight we're going to go ahead and revisit last week's roast, because I think the biggest tea that kind of came out of that was the fact that Miss Gottmik apparently, I wouldn't say she stole it, but she repurposed a Nikki Glazer set, a comedian that's known. I don't know her, but a lot of people know her materials. Apparently, Gottmik knows it too. I'm not sure if she like remembers the whole. Maybe she's such a big fan, like she remembers the whole set, like word for word. Maybe she wrote it down in like a binder and hid it like one of her wigs before she came here. I don't know. Um, but yeah, she ended up literally using the whole set as her roast. And there's been a lot of talk about like what if like what should be done about that. Is it like plagiarizing? Is it there like some actual like rule against this when it comes down to maybe like using someone else's material in a roast situation or in any other part of the challenges and stuff like that? And I don't really know if she benefited from this, because I'd say she was probably still one of the worst of the night. But as far as everything goes here, it does bring up an interesting kind of topic as far as like the references go. Because I mean, let's be real, human beings can only be so creative. I feel like we're kind of at a point where coming up with original jokes is going to be extremely difficult. So expecting someone to come in with a whole set that is entirely, jokes that are not, somewhat retold or maybe you haven't heard before, I think is highly unlikely. But, I'm interested to hear kind of what your perspectives are on the situation here. Jack, I want you to go ahead and start.
For me, it's pretty cut and dry that I think Gottmik, repurposed is a very kind way of putting it. Some of them jokes were almost word for word, like add a word, take out a word right here or there. I think she should have just, been like, yeah, you're right, I did steal that. And I think a lot of this probably also came from the fact that I don't know if you know this, but Roxxxy Andrews kind of made the production give them their phones on this season, like so they could have them because they're like, we're professionals,
Yep,
y'all
you're
take
right. They do have the
stuff.
phones. She
So
Googled.
I think maybe that came from a lot of it. Yeah, and she also claimed to be friends with Nikki Glazer, so it's like, okay, so like they probably work together. She knows a little bit, kind of thing, and she's hilarious. I think that what Gottmik was in her head probably because of like, she just was kind of out of her element because we saw the girls that we didn't expect to be funny do hilariously, and then she had to go up after them, and she was like, "Oh shit, what am I supposed to do?" So, I just think that she should have owned it and been like, "Yeah, I did steal those things," and not be like, "Girl, we all recycled jokes, and yeah, I stole them, but I didn't just steal them word for word. I made them different." And when you do the comparison side by side, you were like, this is different in the same way as like, hey, let me see your homework. Okay, just make it a little different. Like it's that meme all over again. Like, girl, she didn't even make it different. We were called out for cheating. The whole class got expelled. The exam was taken off the schedule. There was no one else to take it because everyone was cheating. But the other jokes were not copied word for word like hers was, badly at least. Maybe one or two here or there, but her whole set completely stolen.
Wizards, do you have any thoughts on this whole situation? Do you think there's like a line where it kind of can be crossed, where, and especially in a situation like this, because I feel like, um, I mean, you're becoming a drag artist, you're kind of to some degree, branding yourself, as your own individual, and as we see on the show, you're pretty multi-talented. So there's a lot of different ways this can actually apply to, because you can mean like this can mean taking someone else's song and making it, trying to like make it your own. You know what I mean? And or I don't know, multitude of different things we could do here. Whiskers, what are your thoughts here on this whole rebranding, repurposing situation?
It's a slippery slope, I think. I mean, part of drag and part of some types of drag is imitation. And that's like what it can that's what a lot of the concept can be. So especially for a comedy challenge, like was previously mentioned, a lot of jokes that are going to get laughs have been kind of used. I think that's kind of what separates the best from the best. If you can kind of come up with something unique and new, like I'm thinking of like a jinx in a roast or something. Like I feel like the material is always like something like referential brought up and specifically applies to that moment. And everybody's not going to be Jinx Monsoon in a roast, but I don't know. It's like I said, it's a slippery slope. You can kind of go either way. But Gottmik, I think, went a little bit too far across the line. When I saw on I don't know what Twitter probably how many jokes were almost exactly the same. Like they were changed a little bit. And I don't know if I were Gottmik, I would hopefully just own it more than he has been doing. So I don't know. It can go either way, but for this one, I think Gottmik is definitely in the wrong here, and it was a little bit too much. The information about the phones is actually really interesting to me. I thought I maybe heard a little bit about that, but I didn't know that they just straight up like had their phones all season. So that definitely connects the dots a bit for me as far as how Gottmik was able to do that, because we were kind of watching through the episode. Like, did Gottmik just write like all of these jokes down on pieces of paper and bring it to set, or like how did that happen? But I don't know. Maybe Gottmik was watching Nikki Glazer, is it YouTube videos the night before, and just was really inspired. We'll say.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways this go. It is definitely kind of a very tricky slope, but to say that people don't take inspirations from other people. I mean, like, let's be real. If people weren't inspired by other people, would we be here doing this podcast? If I, if we weren't inspired by other people that were doing podcasts to do something similar. So, I mean, it is doing what you do with it and then kind of trying to make it your own. So, I think it definitely Gottmik probably played a little bit too over the line for the situation here. Like if you're doing that for maybe like your school homework, okay, sure, but it's another thing when you're doing it in a situation where like all of us at home have Google. Like we could have looked this up, so it's a little cringe. But I think this could be like maybe like the last episode or few. Got me kind of has been in her head a lot. And it feels like maybe this could be the moment where I think a lot of us who saw Gottmik really start out really strong. We're like, okay, Gottmik has got this like for sure at the end. Like this could possibly be like maybe the reason why Gottmik doesn't get to the end here, because it seems like maybe they're definitely stuck in their head here. So and this definitely I think continues on a lot into this episode here, and we can go ahead and kind of start talking about the episode here. I'll be honest, I don't think there's that much to talk about here, but at least the majority of the meat here was this whole beginning part here, which was actually kind of spoiled already on YouTube, like what 3 days beforehand. So it's like, why did we even need to watch the episode? We could have just watched the preview. Anyway, we start the episode here with Miss Delusional Angie cutting Roxxxy the victim. And they feel some type of way about it, both of them. Roxy's coming back in here, and she's definitely saying that. I feel like at this point in time too, it's like she almost forgot that last week happened. 'Cause it feels like the same thing that Angie did last week is the same thing that Roxy is doing this week. Saying that Angie and her are just playing different types of games, and Angie isn't just doing it for the badge. And Angie was saying that she was just stalling last week, taking her time and kind of playing jokes, and you know what I mean, like maybe playing it up a little bit for the suspense. Um, but at the same time here, Roxy is upset about all the dramatics. But we also have to go back to last week when Roxy was basically kind of doing the same exact thing here. So this whole Angeria versus Roxy storyline is honestly, it's kind of the only really good thing that I feel like is like really stringing this season along as far as the story goes. And they are both bringing it here. I'm not sure exactly who's in the right and who's in the wrong though. Because I feel like they're setting up a possible way to crown them both by kind of leaving things very ambiguous. Because I feel like from a lot of our discussions between not just us, but between a lot of other people, um, between Angie and Roxy, I think we're trying to figure out which one is the hero, which one is the villain. Is one an anti-hero? You know what I mean? Like, what are our thoughts on this here, Whiskers? I want you to start out here on the Angie versus Roxy. Which team are you officially on at this point?
Oh boy, you're making me pick a side. I
I'm
love
making you
everybody.
pick. It's the Civil War
No,
and drag, and we are
okay.
picking a side right now.
I'm still gonna give the Miss America answer a little bit. In this moment,
No.
watching the episode. Okay, I'm Team Angie. I'm Team Angie. Anyway, watching it in this moment, I was confused a little bit. I was living for it being some drama and some entertainment. But Roxy calling out Angie and saying you're playing a different kind of game than I am, for quote unquote playing it up last episode, which not even quote unquote. Angie absolutely did play it up and like make it dramatic, but that felt like, yeah, like it was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge for the cameras. The week before, when Roxy also played it up and was dramatic, it seemed like almost more authentic, question mark. Like it didn't, but it did. Like it seemed more of like a raw moment. So
I mean,
feel
compared
like
against
more,
Angeria, yeah, it does.
yeah. Angie's was like wah, 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 like going around like trying to be funny. Roxy's was like, is she for real right now? So Roxy calling out Angie was a little confusing to me. It was funny. It was great entertainment, but I'm like, are you not aware they're calling Angie delusional, but Miss Roxy? What's going on? What's going on at this moment?
Well, what was interesting and something you noted while we were talking about it is they didn't have any other girl comment on it. I don't even know if we got
Right,
any
nobody
like
called her
weird
out. Yeah.
faces or like snake music, right? Or like
Hmm.
snake rattle. Like we didn't get any of it. Um,
Yeah.
Jack, do you have any? Well, I think I already know here, but um, what could you possibly just give us the breakthrough of the entire podcast, just the epiphany here, and tell us what team you could possibly be supporting here between Angie and Roxy?
So I'm Team Roxxxy. But I know, but big
Never
thing
would have
here, I think
guessed.
is what I think what a lot of people are kind of oversighting is everyone's comparing this to last week, right? Like we're comparing what Angeria did to Roxy, but what we're not really seeing about this like scenario in which Roxy did this last week, but Angeria did it this week. So why is she upset? Is we have to take it back because there's a history to these things, specifically to when uh Roxy blocked Angeria, and it was Angeria's second time being blocked. And she got blocked by Gottmik, but Angeria was the first person to block someone, and she blocked Roxy. So anyone who's just a normal person is going to be like, okay, so I can either block someone who's doing well, which Angie was. She was in the lead with badges, and not anymore because of the whole double badge twist of the week. But so now we have a choice. Roxy decides to block her because she had been blocked already. And when Angie came through that door after being blocked a second time, she was like, no, Miss Roxy, I do not like you. What you did right there, I am sore about it. It is fucked up. You're not playing a real game. And we were all like, what? Like, girl, you can't be mad about being blocked by someone who blocked you because strategically it just makes sense, right? And maybe people were letting her off because she hadn't played a social game before or whatever. But whatever. So this whole thing happened, and Angeria was acting like she was all sore and upset about Roxy doing this to her as if she hadn't thrown the first punch. And so I was like, that's weird that you're all mad at her. So now that the roles are reversed, like we did like going backwards, it's weird because Angeria does the exact opposite, acts the same way, and is then like, I can't believe you would do that because I would never do that to you. And I'm like, but girl, you already did. You already did. Like Roxy, of course, had that dramatic moment where I think Roxy really, and this is where I think um you can see that Roxy's, I guess, moment on stage wasn't staged. It really was just her like not knowing what to do because she's didn't want to block anyone really, but she also was like, shit, like if I block Angeria again, we start this war. I'm not trying to do that. And then she ended up on Angeria, and then people were like, well, she knew. And Roxy was like, girl, I like did not know. I'm not that smart. Like, don't give me that credit. Which I think is true. I think Roxy is way more emotional than people give her a credit for. But even like when y'all were saying like, you know, we're looking at these comparisons, and hers felt very genuine, especially compared to Angie's, which was fake. Um, like not to just immediately call Angie's fake, but like we'll get to that. Like Angeria was gonna get cut, and Roxy's like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. She gives it to Gottmik. She's crying. She's like, Gottmik, I'm sorry. Blah blah blah. They have that moment. Um, then Angeria wins again. She cuts off Roxy, which is starting the war all over again that it was already, Nick's done over with. So Angeria decides to cut off Roxy because, quote unquote, she had no one else to do, even though she says she had people on her list, which she also gets to tonight, by the way. So now there's a contradictory like happening here. And Angeria is like, she does this whole thing like, oh, I didn't know what to do. And she's like, girl, I knew I was going to do that because of badges, and I was going off of badges. And we were like, wait, but if you're going off of badges, why didn't you know all of a sudden? So she's telling us two different stories because she told the girls one thing, she told the confessional something else. So I was like, see how that doesn't line up and how that makes me believe you're not telling the truth? Like, Angeria clearly is playing the game. She was upset at Roxy. She had other options to choose because she still had both Vanchi and Gottmik, who had both blocked her already. And as we see later in the episode, there is some resolution coming to that. But, that's why I just don't believe Angeria, because she's shown us multiple different things. Because she said she didn't know who to pick. And then she told us, oh, I had an easy time picking last week because I was going off badges, which is that conversation they had with Nina and Plastique, and Plastique's doing that math. So
Yeah, it's I I feel like if I have to pick a side, which I'm gonna do it right now. I'm trying not to let myself be biased because I think going into it, there's one queen I definitely was rooting for over the other one. So I'm trying to just make sure I'm going into this being aware that I'm obviously preferring one queen over the other. But also even through all of my biases and whatnot, I just feel like maybe we are supposed to be supporting Roxy here. I don't know if, especially after the whole situation goes down here and no one is calling Roxy out on what everybody at home is thinking. I think that's a good look for Roxy's chances here. So I do think we're supposed to be rooting for Team Roxy here. So I'm going to be looking this as a very new lens, I think, at this point moving forward, just to kind of see if this whole theory moving forward is correct, that maybe they're trying to push a Roxy heavy narrative. But let's go ahead and we can kind of discuss one other part here before we get actually into the challenge, because they give us a mini challenge, which they've been giving a lot of us lately. I feel like that's fill time because not much is happening otherwise. Um, and in this mini challenge, we get to watch Bruno shove pieces of fruit in everybody's crotch as they run down the runway and try to transfer it across into a basket. In the short or wait, in like a certain amount of time, whoever gets the most in the basket wins. I thought this was pretty funny. I don't really giggle a whole lot. I feel like during the show, a lot of the times I feel like the comedy is a little bit like but like this was just genuinely just stupid. And I don't know why, but Bruno seemed really into it. He was just like the force, of like the eggplant. It was just very like I don't know. It was just a very funny situation here. Jack, did you enjoy the mini challenge here today?
I thought I was all right. I was like, I'm not surprised Nina won because she got those thick thighs. As a bitch with thick thighs myself, like I got thunder thighs just like her. Like if I sit there, my thighs are together, girl. Like I like that's what it is when you're a bigger girl kind of thing. Like there's a reason that we're known for like chafing and stuff. You
Are you
gotta get
judging my thigh
the
gap?
thigh down there. No, I'm not
You're
judging it,
judging
but I
it.
am making a factual statement on it. Like it was. Did you watch how they put it through? She didn't even have to do that much. People were like, Nina, why'd you smash it? And Nina was like, girl, I didn't even smash it. It was just between my thighs, girl. I was walking normally, and I was trying to like give some extra space because it was too much. And then you got Georges over here, who's like a twig, and Bruno had to shove that shit up in Georges. I was like, is Georges tucked right now? Like she's got a shit ton of fabric on those pants, and that orange or whatever went all the way up there. I was like, oh, is she good? She put that in her little area down there. I was like, oh my god. Britta was just roughly putting it in there. I was nervous for her. I was like, hold up, we gonna need a pelvic exam real quick.
Yeah, George just kind of reminded me like when I was in like sixth grade and I would wear like my brother who was like in high school, like his baggy jeans that were like definitely 8 or 9 inches like far too long and like definitely like I'm like a 20 inch waist and he's like a 30, like what are these gangsta pants George is wearing today? What were your thought here as this whole process was going down here?
I enjoyed it. It was probably one of my favorite parts of the episode, which maybe isn't high praise, but no, it was fun and it was silly. I'm glad it wasn't for a badge because this would have felt like really out there to get a badge for. Like the last one where it was you have to know stuff about the other competitors, that maybe made more sense, but this was just for like an advantage of having immunity, which I think I'm kind of for as far as like the strategy part of the game. They're kind of implementing more things like that. So I'm kind of down if they make this more reoccurring. But the challenge itself was funny and entertaining, and I I enjoyed, especially Nina like was it a squash or a cucumber or something? like not even knowing the thing just snapped. That was a personal highlight. But it was fine. It was fun.
Was it the squash though that left her pants yellow, or was it already yellow because of the
No, it
cucumber?
was
I
an
don't know.
avocado.
Oh,
I
avocado.
think it was an
Okay.
avocado. She said guacamole.
Well, you know what? Nina earned it. Nina ended up winning the challenge and getting immunity from the snip, which I thought was actually a lot of fun. I actually think that would be actually really smart if they brought this back actually every single episode. Um, I think it might be something that we might see, especially as the episodes get shorter. A lot of, or not shorter, sorry, as the episodes go long here, and as there's probably not as much drama anymore. 'Cause I feel like things are probably likely, possibly could be resolving with a lot of these things moving forward here. I mean, the resolution we got to Angie and Roxy felt like it was just like, and we're done, you know. So, you know, I could possibly see them throwing these challenges to fill time, which I think would be a nice little interesting situation here to allow uh, another way to save yourself from getting snipped without winning the challenge. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see if these kind of return here. But we could go ahead and kind of get into not only the acting challenge, but actually into the runways as well too, because we might as well just kind of lump these all in together as far as their total performances here. Because we learned this episode they will be doing kind of the old acting style challenges that they did with Rue, and these scenes are going to be specifically kind of curated for them, and they will be also apparently modeled after older movies. I'll be honest, I don't really watch a whole lot of older movies. I am very, very averted to lots of things that are like black and white. So, like, I personally growing up, I mean, I grew up in the 90s. I'm an 80s child, late 80s child. So, like, I grew up in the 90s. So, I feel like that's old school enough, especially to make people nowadays. Like I'm pretty sure I know a lot more movie references than a lot of other people. So, in fact, I don't know these ones. I'm okay with. But did we have any thoughts on the whole idea behind how this challenge was set up here? Whiskers, I kind of want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, I was kind of excited about the overall concept of what it was going to be. I mean, I'm not like a huge old movie buff or anything, but I thought it could have been kind of interested. And I'm always interested in like learning little tidbits about like maybe some queer history or something throughout the drag race challenges like this. But I was really disappointed in the challenge because I feel like I don't know, I don't want to take any credit away from the queens, but I feel like just in the writing and how it was set up, we didn't really learn a lot about each of their specific like movies that they were, I guess, supposed to be basing their scene off of. We didn't really learn much at all. At least I didn't. And it was just like other aspects of it too. Like the set was exactly the same for all of them. I thought it would kind of, even if it's just a green screen, like they could customize it a little bit more to really get the feel of each movie in each scene. And I don't know. I'm just never a big fan of these scenes with Rue or just the acting in general. But especially the ones with Rue, I feel like it's the same exact thing every single time. And I love that for them that they get to act with Rue, who's like an idol, and like that's cool. But I mean, they're all stars, so like they've met Rue before, so it's not even like that cool of a moment. I don't know. It's just I feel like been there, done that for a lot of these acting challenges, and I was not super impressed, unfortunately. The bar was kind of high, but we definitely did not meet it.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I don't know if it's maybe a situation here. Like, we kind of talked about this. I don't know if it's a situation of maybe, like you said, we don't know a lot of the specific references to a lot of these movies. 'Cause I mean, like, outside of like Showgirls, Mommy Dearest, like, and maybe like Dynasty. I'm like, I mean, I know of these movies. I have not watched them. And I don't know, like, if they took out like some obscure scenes that you would need to know in order to do this. I don't know. I maybe need to go educate myself. I'm completely fine admitting that here, but I also just don't think these challenges necessarily are necessarily written the best anyway. You know, like if I'm comparing these to a similar challenge that at least what I was kind of going into this thinking of. I was thinking of like All Stars 2 acting challenge, where they had like like they each kind of split up. They did their partner thing, and they actually took like they did the sequel to a movie, but you kind of already would. I feel like those were just so much more like well thought out that you didn't have to see Thelma and Louise to get what they were doing as zombies there. Like you get the reference, like you understand. Like there's a lot of things here that I just didn't really get. Um, Jack, did you have any thoughts kind of overall on the challenge here?
Like I said, girl, the writer's strike, you knew it was happening. I knew it was happening. We all knew it was happening after we saw those performances. It was just so unbalanced. It felt like a makeover challenge where they just could have made any criteria the correct criteria to put anyone in the top or the bottom. And I wasn't living, I wasn't gagging, as Raja O'Hara once said. I'm not gagging. Um, and that was pretty much what sums it up is like the acting challenges were kind of messy. The scenes may be iconic themselves. I got a few of them, not all of them. I'm not as educated as I should be on some of these like queer classics. But the problem was the difference in all of these different scenes and how they were all supposed to end up with a slap session, which we've seen a lot with RuPaul before, and it's fine, it's fine. Well, it can be, but like some of these queens clearly had better jokes written in, and some of them they were like, give a generic script and do the best that you got. And that's really it's one of those things that throws you off. Like when you see a musical and you know that like there are 2 parts or 5 parts that like don't have any screen time and didn't do anything funny, so you're like, girl, they're not going to be in the top. You're lucky if you're not in the bottom that week.
Uh, um, I, it's. I mean, acting challenges are already kind of cringe. Other than like Daytona Wind, but that was not necessarily because of the acting challenge. That was because of them inserting the farting noises at the end. Um, Yeah, this also kind of a point you brought up there too that I kind of also wanted to bring up. So I'm glad you brought that up too. It's also giving All Stars 3. What was the challenge that Thorgy always says the Divas challenge, where
Crucible,
it's like
yeah.
yeah, it's very clearly like some of these queens are Thorgy Thor. They're whatever her name is. Who was she trying to be? I can't even remember off the top of
Stevie
my head.
Nicks.
Yeah, Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see many Stevie Nicks here at this point here. I mean, if I would like to know if how much creative input they had here, because it seems like I mean, like through some point here, like especially like we could kind of start off with our first queen. Actually, and also too, in the runway. The runway theme is oh my god, didn't even write down the runway theme. Widow,
Widow
something about you
Weep for Me.
crying. Um,
Yeah, Weep for Me.
yeah,
Widow,
wait
she
for
better don't.
widow weep for me. I was just thinking. I was like, widow, she better do. Like, I was like, she bet widow, she better don't. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, okay, yeah. Widow
We'll
weep
make her.
for me is the official title here. So, we could go ahead and start with Nina because when Nina was doing her, at least the filming process, it seemed like she had a lot of creative control. I don't really know, but it felt like she came in with a plan. Like she was telling me, like, I want to enter like this, and I want to do this, and I'm going to do this, and it felt like, at least the way that they were portraying it in the 30-second clip that we saw of it, like it felt like maybe they were the ones that had a little bit more say in it, but also clearly they're getting a script, so it's like you're obviously you're reading something, so it's not like you're ad libbing or there is places for them to input their own jokes. But as far as Nina's whole video goes here, I thought she was solid. I wouldn't say that I laughed particularly. I actually I wouldn't say I laughed really much at any of these outside of I would say two, and then there were two other moments that kind of made me chuckle. But Nina, I felt like she did a solid job. Like I'm not mad at anything she did. Like it's very obviously kind of like Nina acting. Like it was giving me like Sesame Street acting, maybe. But like if maybe Broadway Sesame Street. Like like it just very like over the top, ginger minge, like facial emotions and stuff like that. So technically acting, I thought Nina did a good job. So was a little shocked here at the end, though. I won't lie here that she was put in the top. Um, just because I felt like I got more laughs out of other people. But if we're going technical, okay, sure, Nina technically is the best actress out of all of them. So, okay, understand that. And as far as the runway look goes, I will say this is probably Nina's one of her better looks here. The first look isn't bad, and then it reveals into a second look, and I get why she's blue after the second look. And I don't really have that much more to say about it because it's not like it's a very like passionate look or anything like that. But as far as what she's going for the widow, I like it. It's all right. It's good. It's fine. I'm okay with it. Definitely better than almost anything else that she's brought out this week. So, um, great week for Nina here. Jack, what were your thoughts here on Miss Nina this week?
I think she, in my opinion, did the best in the acting challenge out of everyone, just because like I knew her vision going in. I felt like the clips were short. So we didn't really know what happened because they could have showed us anything of those clips clearly, but the scenes weren't that long either. So like we're not really sure what was all taped and whatnot, but from everything she knew, she had a point of direction. She knew what she wanted to do. She executed pretty well. She took notes if there were any to take, and she was like, I'm planning on doing this. What do you think? And they were like, yeah, girl, sounds great. She followed her runway. Um, so I really like this runway as far as like the Widow Weep for me concept. I thought it was interesting. She kind of did her character kind of from the movie she was referencing, I believe, or one of the movies she's referencing. So I don't know if they knew which movies they were going to be doing before they got there, and this was like a nod that she did to it or not, which is just interesting because if they did know, then like was she able to use that as an advantage to like make this outfit or get this outfit made, I should say. That being said, the I really love the pattern and the white like lacy kind of part of it, I guess. Um, I love the cut of the dress, and I love the hair specifically with the makeup for this look that she's doing as this widow that's sweeping. I hate the blue fabric so much. I think it could have even been cut to like just half an inch or an inch lower so it hits the stage specifically all the time. But maybe I'm nitpicking on this. I just think that when it comes to Nina, like the judges mentioned it, it wasn't very fashionable, but this category isn't exactly supposed to have to be fashionable. And so that really made it okay and it was good. It just the outfit overall was like not a letdown, but not something I'm going to be like, oh my god, remember about this. But for Nina, especially, you said it. It's one of the best things she's worn on the runway. One of the best things she's wore on the runway. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like I mean this with the most respect possible, but we need to give Nina her flowers when she walks out on this runway and is looking good. Okay, so we'll
That's the wrong Nina girl. This is Nina West.
just you know what? Okay. One thing I did forget to say here, is the fact that I guess Nina West was her movie theme was Valley of the Dolls, and I will be honest, know the name, not seen the movie, so get why I didn't get the references, but I still think I got the character though, so I think you're right, Jack, as everything goes here. I think you're right. I got her vision. Whiskers, what were your thought here on Miss Nina this week?
Yeah, I mean, Nina in an acting challenge, it's always going to be giving very professional, and it's going to be like she's going to do a good job in an acting challenge. I feel like you can expect that out of Nina. So I think she lived up to the hype here. I had her ranked third, so not in the top two for me, but I could totally see why she would be put in the top. And I just want to say, for my ranking for this acting challenge, I didn't really have a good way to actually rank it. I really struggled with it a lot this week. Just because, like something that you mentioned, we don't really ever find out how much creative control the queens had over their scenes. So I feel like I can't fully give credit where credit is due. Like for the ones where it was so drastically different from the other scenes, like I don't know. I don't want to spoil stuff and talk about it too early, but like scenes that were very different. Like, is that because the queens pushed for that, or is it just because it was like written for them. So I kind of struggled with ranking them, but Nina, I mean, it was like you could tell she did well. Valley of the Dolls, it makes sense. I know a little bit about that. I think it's like 60s, like that era. But I she did well. It was like Nina is a drag queen, and like she gave very much overacting. But I thought it was very good, and I could see why she was put in the top at the end of the day. And for her look, she was first out on the runway. And when she turned the corner first, I was like, oh, this is a good look from Nina. I was very impressed with her this week. That being said, it was towards the bottom for me as far as looks. It wasn't at the bottom though, so I will give her that. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about it that you guys haven't already, but it was good on the Nina scale.
On the Nina
Lower
scale.
and lower end of the spectrum as far as everybody else in the runway. But claps for Nina.
I hate the fact that I'm totally gonna have to do a video ranking Nina's looks at the end of this season.
Yeah,
Just
we
in
have to.
comparison, like I'm just like I was gonna do like the worst looks of the season, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just rank Nina's looks.
The worst looks would just all be 10 of Nina's. Maybe
There's
like
only
8.
like 9 episodes, right? No. Oh Lord. Um, But yeah, fantastic week for Nina. I'm glad that she's having her moment here. I was a little worried for her, I'll be honest. Coming into this, like she was probably one of the queens I expected to do just well in a lot of different categories because a lot of her strengths are in areas that a lot of other queens aren't. So I feel like she's had a really rough 7 episodes or 6 episodes here. So I feel like this is the one she's been waiting for. If we see her at Roscoe's, it'll probably be this episode. So I feel like this could be her moment here. So I'm happy for Nina here. So let's go ahead and move on to our next queen, Miss Roxxxy Andrews, who was doing her scene based on a Dynasty, the famous TV show. Be honest. Didn't really watch a whole lot of Dynasty, but I generally get like the concept. So as far as everything goes, I really liked Roxy's acting challenge, even though it was just very understated. Like it just felt like there was no meat to a lot of the jokes. Like it felt like she did well as far as what I saw her acting, but I wasn't laughing at what was being said, and I was just kind of like to me was like where were the jokes? But I one of the moments I did cackle on her when she ended up learning that the champagne or whatever it was that she was drinking was actually Rue's urine sample, and she ends up drinking it again anyways. I thought that was pretty funny. But as far as everything goes here, I didn't mind Roxy this week. I had her kind of in the middle of the pack. As far as her look goes, I'm still trying to figure out where exactly I'm placing it overall because I thought everybody did generally well. There's no like boogers tonight, so like everybody did pretty good. Um, as far as look goes, a little basic to some degree. But I can't say that like she doesn't look good in this. Like this is like the dress is so fitted to her body and the curves and just the shape. Just she looks so good. And like I love the idea of like the Swarovski blood. Like she kind of took like the like what Gottmik did for like the top surgery look, did the same kind of idea with the Swarovski blood on the face. And I thought that I feel like it's a very creative. If you're gonna just wear like a white dress, like at least this is a white dress with some little extra on it. So I'm not mad at Miss Roxy here tonight. Um, Jack, I know you got a lot to say about Miss Roxy here, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it away here.
So for me, I really enjoyed Roxy's scene. I thought it was very understated as in comparison to a lot of the other girls, but that's kind of what made it stand out so much for me, I think, was that we were you're when it comes to acting, you're not always looking like sometimes when you go smaller, it can be bigger. And it was like it reminded me of just like the girls given like shade. Like, you know, when you're a frenemy with someone, like it was giving that that's what it was supposed to be. I felt that they were frenemies. And I was like, okay, this is great. Like they're getting mean. the funniest part probably was when she decided to then take another sip and drink the rest of the urine sample, which I don't know what it was because it looked white, and at first I was like, "Oh my god." Maybe it was just some milk or tapioca or some, I don't know. But I thought that was funny. But the scene itself, like, again, none of the scenes were like the best thing ever, but I enjoyed the scene overall. I did a great job acting in it. I think she had a clear vision of what she wanted to do, and I think she pretty much stuck to that plan. I think she made a good couple choices in her acting, but that being said, like, I was happy with the result. It was a good scene, in my opinion. Her runway look, though, this is something where I know that maybe the word basic might come up for this, but for me, this is like what elegance looks like. When you're going to do something simple, do it well and make sure the details are correct. Like, if you want to do simple on the runway, it can be simple and memorable. Her hair swoosh is perfect down the side, like from one side to the other, and do a swoosh behind, like in front of her ear, behind her head, kind of thing. It's just a small nod to like not overstate the grandiose like uh coat that she has on over her white dress. And as a widow, it's kind of funny that she chose to go with white, and she's clearly the widow who kills her husband as she has the axe and the blood stain on her. My biggest critique, honestly, is that the blood is a little too symmetrical at the top. Um, but like that was the pattern on the dress right there. And I mean, it is such a big nitpick. It's just like um asking Nina's to be like an inch or an inch or a half an inch like lower. Like it was such a nitpick. But I thought this outfit was one of my favorite of the week. I ranked it number 2. I think sometimes simplicity works so well, and the white gloves just, I think it really captured, like, I believed this character was a widow, and I believe that she's had it officially, and the reason she's weeping is very different than the other girls. And I thought it was fun because I don't think we're gonna see anything like it, and we didn't.
And Whiskers, what were your thoughts here on Miss Roxxxy tonight?
Roxy, I don't remember a lot of the acting challenges. I remember her drinking the pee. Obviously, that was like kind of the shining moment. And that's what made it not the absolute bottom for me. But I struggled to rank kind of like the bottom 4 or 5 maybe, because a lot of them kind of felt very similar to me. But Roxy's like I can, like, thinking back to it, I can picture it more. So maybe I need to give her a little bit more credit, at least for having the urine sample moment, because I do remember it because of that. And then for her runway, we discussed this a little bit off podcast, but I did rank it lower. I think Jack may have just kind of talked me into ranking it a little bit higher, but it's still going to be in the bottom half of my rankings. Roxy always looks beautiful, and she, I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, makes every single garment that she wears on the runway, at least
I
for the
believe
season.
so, yeah. I believe so.
And it's very well executed. She looks beautiful. She looks gorgeous. I like the concept, but I think it's something that we've seen a lot of times. And I don't want to use the B word, but it is a little bit basic. But like Jack said, it is executed very well, and she looks beautiful. But it's in the lower echelon of rankings for me. But I don't know. Roxy did a good job. Roxy always does a good job, but I feel like I haven't been able to give her as many flowers as maybe she deserves this season. But just for me, it seems like she's falling in the lower rankings for me a lot of these episodes.
Yeah, your rankings have definitely been a little anti-Roxy, but you're pro Angeria, so that's totally understandable. And well, look
It all
at that.
checks out.
Look who's next. Miss Angeria. Well, look at that. That's funny. I'll be honest, during the acting challenge initially, I did not remember much of Angeria. Outside of the whole line where um she talks about, or where Rue goes, I know what you're doing, or something, even blackmail. And she goes, what did you call me? I'm like, other than that, I didn't remember it much about Angie's performance. Like, I thought she was doing some fun, like, again, she was doing the facial expression thing, so she was into it. Like, she was in her character. But I I don't know if I was that impressed. I don't like I wasn't unimpressed, but I don't know if I would say that I would put her in the top here. So I'm a little bit thinking shenanigans, but I'm not gonna say that because remember I'm Team Roxxxy at this point over Team Angie. So I'm gonna let someone who is a little bit more of an authority go ahead and pick up and talk about here. So Whiskers, go ahead and talk about your girl tonight.
No, well, I don't know about authority, and I don't know about this narrative pushing
I,
me into
you
the Team
know,
Angie box. Even
it's
though I have
it's what's
tended to
happened.
side with her,
Am I
I
lying?
have been. I have been Team Angie. No, you're
There,
not lying,
yeah.
but
See,
I,
see, thank you.
I there may be some pushing. There may be some pushing into certain narratives,
Yeah,
similar to us being on Drag Race.
it happens. I have to. It's a
But
podcast, especially a drag
yeah,
race podcast. It wouldn't be anything without a little production rigor behind the
I
scenes
know.
here. So
We got to give the people the drama.
it has to happen. It has to. So sorry for
But
cutting you off.
anyway, I like Angeria a lot. I enjoy her as an entertainer, so I'm more apt to rank her a little bit higher. That being said, the acting challenge, I was shocked when she was announced to be in the top 2 again. I did not have her quite that high. I had her kind of in that middle pack where I don't really remember much of what they did in the challenge at all. I remember the blackmail joke. So like Roxy, she had a joke that I remember the challenge from, but I mean they kind of fell like 4 and 5 for me in the acting challenge on my rankings out of the 8 of them. So I think that kind of checks out. Like they had one good moment and the rest it was just kind of similar to everybody else's. It was fine. I don't know. Angeria is always good. She's talented and charismatic, and that carried through. But it didn't stand out enough to be in the top 2 for me this week, even though I'm #1 Angie Stan according to the podcast. But on her runway, I I don't know. I think I almost want to give the runway more credit than maybe I should. I don't know. Who am I to judge? But we're here judging. And I just it's not like the most flattering for me, but I don't hate it. And I really like the concept that she was going for. And I like that she went for kind of the spider, like the Black Widow, the spider web route. Because nobody else did that. So I always want to kind of give, unless if Gottmix is maybe a little bit web referential, I don't know. But Angie's, you can definitely tell she went that route. I love the color red that is on the outfit. But I don't know. It's just doesn't seem like the most flattering to me, so it's not at the absolute top of my list. But I really respect the concept, and I like some of the aspects of it. So it felt kind of middle of the road for me.
Yeah, I kind of have her outfit lower middle end, honestly. Like I love the coloring, like you said too, like that burgundy wine color is just I love that color. It's so pretty, especially with the black. It's just a nice color combination. But I just it feels like it's like 3 different outfits to me. Like the top half with the necklace just doesn't feel like it fits the middle part, which doesn't feel like it fits bottom. I don't know. Like I don't something about this doesn't really work for me completely. Not to say she doesn't look good. Like she makeup wise she looks good. But like I don't know. I Angie to me hasn't really been hitting it on the runway as much as I would want her to this season. So um Jack, I know you have some words here. What are your thoughts on Miss Angie tonight?
Um, so again, uh, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Brigham Morris. I just don't think that Angie's performance in the acting challenge deserved top 2. I'm not saying she did a terrible job. Let me start with that. I am not saying Angeria did the worst. She's not even close to being the worst on my list of performances. She's safely in the middle. And I do say safely in the middle, where I think a lot of girls kind of ended up here, even though we're judging and trying to make this list of 8 girls in a row. It's hard because I can put someone at 2 and someone at 3, and sometimes there are miles between their performance, and sometimes there's like an inch. And this time, a lot of the girls kind of fell in a similar area for the most part for me. Her scene again. This is what I'm talking about. The blackmail, what'd you call me joke is hilarious. It was so well written into there for her. I loved it. Um, it and that's like okay, assuming that like all these scripts were written by the same people and whatnot. It just felt like this one was better than other people's, but I really didn't get the I guess necessarily the character she was always going for. It kind of gives me, and I'm not trying to say that this is a one for one, but you know how when Vanjie does things, she's, oh, that's Vanjie, and you know what you're kind of going to get because Vanjie does things Vanjie's way. Angeria kind of has a similar thing. I'm not saying she's 100% the same person every single time, but like I kind of knew what I was going to get based on like just who she is as an actor, and I don't think she's a bad actor. It's just I was kind of expecting it to go some way. And then I think there were mistakes in her part, like when she accidentally like, fell back a little bit and tripped backwards, and they all loved it. And I was like, I don't even know if that was intentional, but like go off. Like, no, and I'm not saying anything bad about it. It was just like she didn't exactly know what she wanted to do, and when she was supposed to leave the scene, she wasn't really sure. And RuPaul told her to do one thing, and she did something completely different because she isn't the best listener in the world, which is fine because sometimes RuPaul's hard to understand too. But top two, I think not. The runway though. I really love a lot of these proportions. I love the mermaiding out of the dress at the bottom. I love the color from the black to the burgundy. I love the little urn in her head, like she's the widow and stuff. I like that she went the Black Widow route because I think we all knew someone had to do it, and she did it, thankfully. But a few things here that aren't for me. You mentioned the necklace. It makes her neck look smaller. I would love if that was just gone. Take that out. I think the webbing in the background with the necklace, uh, that is really clashing for me, and the urn thing. It's like I kind of wish the web had gone over the like I wish there had been a bigger web on the back of her body kind of thing, and she revealed like maybe it opens up and she reveals like the spider coming through to make it more like I guess cohesive because really it's just a web on her that gives us the Black Widow part. Also, the coming off of her arm or shoulder part in the back. Not a fan of this color red with this. I mean, it kind of matches some of the underneath red fabric, but it it just doesn't do it for me in the same way. And I love the red in her hair. I think that's what really brought it together with that, and that's what made it more okay with me. But the top part is like a vest that goes down to the hips, and I kind of really love it. But there's something not 100% right about this outfit. Again, it wasn't like my least favorite outfit of the week. It's just in the middle. It's safe. I think her performance was again safe. This is another time where they're trying to just give us Angeria and make us root for her. I felt they're pushing her on me again. Uh, but you know, she got her spot in the top two, so I'm not the judge.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we could only say our opinions. We're not the judges, and I mean, we continue to watch the show. So even if there is rigor afoot, aren't we just supporting it and being just as complicit as my favorite member of the trust would say, Lindsay, just by being here? Aren't we complicit? Anyway, yeah, I mean, if I could say one thing about her performance, too, maybe it's just because it's been like I remember seeing this movie like years ago. But I don't know if she gave me Mildred Pierce. Maybe she gave like the dialogue was supposed to be, but I'm like, I don't know if I got that from this whole situation here. But um, congratulations, Angie, for your top performance. We'll talk about that a little bit more what happens after that at the end here. But let's get to our
Oh, for
next
top
queen.
what?
Oh, ooh, ooh, my bad. Sorry, didn't mean to call the doll like that. Didn't mean disrespect her by calling her a top. Um, another doll that I can't disrespect here. Miss Plastique. And she kind of had an episode. She kind of had a little bit of an arc this episode, I will say. And I think she officially had her epiphany at the start of this episode that with her 3 stars, or sorry, badges, and those being the only person being able to possibly get a fourth this week, I think she kind of realized that she's going to be the threat. And I think we kind of went the entirety of this episode really thinking that it's going to be Plastique that was likely going to be blocked at the end here. Kind of almost regardless who won. Like I was almost kind of convinced at some point that like if Roxxxy won, that she was gonna block Plastique instead of Angie. But as far as like the challenge goes, Plastique was there. He showed up. She tried. She committed. And I don't think this was just. I don't know if it was the material or what, because it's like we've seen her in other acting challenges with scripts where she shines, but this one, like, I definitely one of the worst of the of the night for sure. Um, I have her ranked almost honestly last. I don't think I laughed once through it. I mean her. Sorry, her performance title is sorry, the film that she was doing is All About Eve. Never seen it, so maybe that's why I didn't laugh. I don't know. But I don't know. But let me just say, on the runway, oh my god, Plastique did it again. She has just been killing it. Like we can guarantee, regardless how she does in the challenge, she's going to walk out on that runway just looking so good. And I do want to say, I wouldn't say, I feel like it's a silhouette we've seen a couple times this season, but she does it so well. And I'm like, the way that it's just, the pattern, oh my god, like the pattern is just gorgeous. Like, it's honestly kind of almost like a work of art. I can just kind of stare at it all the time. Then, like, the Swarovski crystals that she uses to accent everything, like, this is just a really, really gorgeous piece. And I love the movement that I feel like it's the plastic train reveal that she's been doing here, where she saunters to the right to start, then to the left, and then she kind of does that hard right to show off the train. Like I'm living for the way that she presents everything. I'm loving Plastic on the runway. Didn't really like her this week as far as the challenge goes, so I was fully expecting her to be snipped at the end of this here. Whiskers, I also want to hear your thoughts here on this Plastic.
Yeah, Plastique was not somebody I remembered at all in the challenge. So, like I said, for Roxxxy and for Angeria, like they had their couple moments where it was like a little bit funny, got a little chuckle or something to make them memorable. Plastique, I couldn't tell you what she wore in the challenge. I couldn't tell you one line that she said. So for that reason, she did get ranked last for me. That doesn't mean she did a bad job. I think it's just the acting challenges, and that's how it goes. And a lot of them end up falling flat, unfortunately. So I don't have much else to say about her acting challenge because I don't really remember a lot of it, unfortunately.
I mean, fair.
But her runway look, I definitely remember. This is a work of art. This is beautiful. This is what we've come to expect when Plastique turns that corner and walks down the runway. This is like you could get lost looking in those sleeves, just the way they shine and all the intricate details, um, and just the representation of culture and especially Asian culture on the Drag Race runway is super cool. And she brings it like almost every single week, and it's just really cool to watch. And obviously this look was, or maybe not obviously, but this was my favorite look of the week. So polar opposites for Plastic for me. Acting challenge, literally don't remember a thing. Runway will remember for a while. It's maybe not my favorite one, runway first for the whole season, but there's a very high bar set for Plastic runways, so it's a very good look.
It's a very high bar set for everybody on these runaways here. I'm like, definitely, I agree with you. I think this is my favorite look of the night for sure. Jack, what were your thoughts on Miss Plastique tonight?
I am tired of Plastique bullying everyone out there. None of us will ever look that good.
We could dream,
So
though,
now
right?
I
We could
have to
dream.
go. Right. Now I have another issue to go to my therapist for because I will never look that stunning on the runway. I don't know if anyone will ever look this stunning on the runway. Plastique raises the bar yet again. She never misses. Like, the doll is dolling. You cannot read the doll. The dollage is officially open, ladies. Please enroll. I know I'm getting my paperwork together. I'm applying. Plastique looked amazing on the runway. There's too many things to even talk about. The train, the sleeves, the fabric, the crystals, the tears from her eyes to show that she's a widow. Like it's just so beautiful. Everything is right. Even the little like I don't know if anyone noticed this, but the baby hairs on her forehead that were even put into a design like bitch details the house down. The nails, girl. I can't. I cannot exist in this world knowing that I have to compete with plastic ever. I was like, God damn, if I was a drag queen right now, I'm not going on season 17. If I already shot for season 17, girl, please take me out. Sherry pie my edit. Like I don't want anyone seeing that. Bring me back for like season set, like I don't know, 18, 19, maybe 21. Maybe the girls will forget by then. I don't know. As far as the acting challenge goes, again, this is something with the writing where I'm like, hers wasn't that memorable. I remember her decision to do that whole broken jaw kind of thing, or like tooth missing, and she was like, at the end, funny. That was good. I liked how she like took off this huge thing to reveal like I don't want to say the Georgia special, but you know when a girl takes off the big coat or whatever just to reveal like the fringe dress, the shiny. Like that's like the
You
most
do not call
unhinged
that
for
the
her
Georgia
getting.
special.
I
That's hateful.
but
Hateful but true, but hateful.
I wasn't even trying to be hateful, girl. I'm just trying to give her something to be known for other than her lip syncs. I'm trying to help her brand. But the point
That's like
being
saying we're branding Plain
that
Jane with the bodysuits.
well, if it looks good on you, I mean, go for it. I mean, some people wear bodysuits and don't wear body, and they don't get called out for that, though. But, I'm not here to discuss that right now. I'm here to discuss that the acting challenge wasn't great. It wasn't my least favorite, but it was in the bottom for sure for me. It, but I can forgive. Like, obviously, she wasn't gonna be in the top this week, but all sins are forgiven when you wear that on the runway.
Absolutely. I mean, Plastique, like I said, regardless what happens out there during the Maxi Challenge, she's gonna bring it on the runaway. So I mean, especially as we're getting closer to the finale, like, how is like finale looks are always the one where they're gonna outdo themselves. Like, what the fuck is she gonna walk out in? Like, what is she gonna do? Like, I'm so excited here. So, not the best night here for Miss Plastique, but I will say I'm glad that she is like super committed to everything, and she's just throwing herself in and making and not that she did bad. She did not do bad in this acting challenge. But if we're comparing it to like, actually, I mean, like, let's be real, none of them blew it like out of the park, 100%. But it could be worse. Could be so much worse. So I'm just so proud of Plastique's growth here. So let's get to our next one. Miss Chanel, who oh my god, y'all, I am feeling for Chanel here because she still has not gotten a badge, and now she is in her head, wondering her worth, and she literally has to have the RuPaul talk on the stage. Where I'm glad Ru said it, that it's like, you know what, you are one of the baddest bitches. You've been out here for 15 years, 16 now at this point. Like, why are you in your head, girl? Like, do your thing. So, you could definitely tell Chanel during the challenge here because it felt like she started out really well. Like I was actually really into it. Then there was it felt like a point like I don't know if it was just like the way that she was like acting, the way she was looking, her facial expressions or whatever, but it felt like she was like reading her lines off of a cue card. So I don't know, but like what that like stilted like expression was that she kind of was going with or whatnot with like the rest of her body movements and her face and everything, but it just got kind of cringe a little bit halfway, like she was trying very, very hard. And I wanted to give her a lot more credit than for it, but I, I, I don't know. This was kind of a rough week for Chanel. As far as the runway goes, I feel like that first look when she popped out. Remember when Nina walked out as a nun a couple weeks ago? and you could see her reveal. Like we obviously knew her reveal was coming, but like I did not expect like this gigantic Victorian dress to pop out. Like I would have expected this outfit to be so much smaller than the one that Nina was wearing underneath. So the fact that she's walking out with this shit, I was like, oh, okay. I don't like the story that she was going for though, because I don't get like, oh, I'm a whatever, a widow, and like I'm making all this money, but now like I'm an inheritance and I'm a queen or whatever with all this shit. Like I'm like, what? Like you don't just become royalty because you inherit money, unless you inherit money from a queen or a king.
Well,
But you know, like well, you could, I don't know, become, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really vibe with the storyline, but that's not to say that she doesn't look good. I just didn't understand the reveal as much. But I do love the gold and white colored fabric that she uses on this one. I'm not sure if I'm as big a fan of the blue, but it touches the floor, so we need to be happy about it touching the floor. And you know, Chanel's always beat. Although I wonder, no, I'm not gonna say that. Uh, we're just gonna leave it though. Chanel was beat. She's always beat. I want to go to the Christmas party, so I love you, Chanel. Hope you get your flowers soon, and hopefully that's what we're being set up in the future for a storyline here. Jack, go ahead and let me know your thoughts on Miss Chanel tonight.
Miss Chanel, I think, got a little robbed again. I didn't think she did bad in the acting challenge, actually. I kind of felt it was just her being her natural self in a way, which I guess was part of the challenge. But at the same time, like, did I know what she was really. I didn't know what she was like, her scene was referencing. But it was really funny that she was like, "Oh, haha, girl, we're like doing a bet. Okay, I'll do it too. How dare you?" And got all dramatic. And I was like, "Oh, this, I kind of enjoy this." And I honestly didn't think she did that bad, but the judges hated her. Basically, they were like, "And you were shit." And I was like, "Damn," because they sure did give her harsh critiques compared to everyone else. And I don't know, like the final product didn't show me as much in her head as I'd seen her beforehand, I feel like. But I mean, again, that's kind of what the editing does. Like you can't really always know the truth. Her look on the runway, I really enjoyed actually. It was kind of middle of the road, just because there were so many good looks, I think, and a few others. But I really liked her look. I kind of understood the whole reveal was happening, but was also shocked to see this silhouette come out, and I loved it because we are doing a time reference piece. It looks great. The color line is here with the blue and gold and white, and it looks kind of how it's supposed to be. Maybe it's not like 100% perfect. Could there be details here or there that are could have been better? Maybe if we had thought about it differently, maybe. But Chanel will always give you. She's gonna be dolled up. She's gonna be big. She's gonna be extravagant, over the top, and that's what I love about Chanel. And if anything, if she doesn't get a badge, please just love Chanel for being herself in her drag, and like she's delivering to us every time like what she sees as her vision, and like I think we can see consistently that she's giving us something to think about on the runway at least. um I think Chanel did better than at least one of the girls in the top two this week, so I mean a little rigory. I'm not saying Chanel had to be in the top though, so but overall Chanel gets a good grade from me this week. I liked her.
Right on. What were your thoughts here, Miss Chanel, this week, Whiskers?
Yeah, I was a little hopeful at the beginning of the week for Chanel, thinking, okay, maybe she's going to have her story arc and she's going to get her first badge. And an acting challenge is something I could see Chanel maybe having a chance to excel in. I don't feel like she totally did once again, unfortunately for me, at least in the challenge. I do remember a little bit like her kind of like switching the joke back on Rue and like kind of playing that up, but it wasn't super funny to me. And it did feel very kind of like you said, Renegade, like it was kind of like scripted. I mean, it was literally scripted, but as she made it seem like it was, I like almost, yeah, like she was reading off of a teleprompter, but it wasn't horrible. It's just kind of in and amongst that plateau of queens for me in the acting challenge where they're all kind of similar, but I do remember her a little bit, so she was at least ranked above Plastique for me. But I'm really rooting for Chanel to do better. And I think she'll have her standout episode, and I think we get a little bit of story for her, at least this episode, where maybe over the coming ones she'll have her moment. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that she does, because you never want to see somebody with 0 badges when everybody else has like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So I'm really pulling for Chanel here. But for her looks are always solid, and this one I actually really like. This one was mid to higher in the rankings for me. I really like the reveal. I don't hate the storyline. I kind of can see that, like, she's a widow, and her husband dies, and then she becomes royalty with all the inheritance. And I really like the look. I like the classical style. I feel like we've seen a lot of that before, like the Marie Antoinette stuff, but this isn't really giving as much Marie Antoinette for me. So it's the classical style, not unheard of. She's not breaking barriers with this look, but every aspect of it I enjoy. There's not a part of it that I don't hate, or that I do hate. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I like the colors. There's not a part of it that I don't hate. It's horrible now.
So it's like, are we talking about Nina or?
Yeah, no, talked myself into a hole there. We'll edit that out. We
No, we
won't.
won't. No.
But but yeah, I like it. I like the color combo, that kind of royal blue purple with the gold flakes and the white. It just really reads for me, and I like this look a lot.
Yeah, let's hope that our mommy dearest Chanel has hopefully an episode or two where she's able to kind of shine here. I feel like the setup for this season is they're gonna have each girl kind of at least have their episode at least once. I feel like, so hopefully for Chanel, her moment is very very soon, because like this is just kind of rough here. Some girls have like 3+ badges and she's sitting here with none. So give Chanel a badge now. Yeah. Anyway, our next queen, and the queen now. I have not been very nice to Miss Georges. I have not been nice to her at all up until last week. I think was the nicest I've ever been to her. Well, you know what? I'm officially on the Georges' Rob train, because why the fuck was this bitch not in the top 2 tonight? Because this is legitimately the most I laughed the entire episode. I don't know if it's because she was technically acting right, but she made me laugh. And if that's the whole, I mean, we're not in a drama series here that they're filming here. It's a RuPaul's Drag Race acting challenge. Like, is the whole idea here to make Ru laugh? And George's like, this is like the perfect challenge too. Again, once again, we have another situation where Ru is literally sitting there with Georges on set, acting with Georges, and has the ability to, coach Georges along. Isn't that what Ru loves? The fact that you could take the critiques and use them, and like, Georges was hilarious. I will be honest. I cannot think of one particular line at all. Pinned at all. But it was mostly because I was just laughing too much, because the mannerisms, the look. When she grabbed the chair and stood up on it and smacked Rue and then walked out with the chair, that was the moment I was like, Georges wins. But maybe it's a situation here that Georges lost because of the runway, because this was the most. Georges, what's this basic ass shit that you pulled out again? Like, you were like number 1 last week, and now you pulled out this basic shit again. Like, I'm trying to support you, Georges. I've been trying to be very nice to you. Don't you do this shit to me again. Anyways, Whiskers, what's your thoughts here on Miss Georges tonight?
I'm fully on the Georges bandwagon as well. I'm right there with you. After last week, the hype for Georges was real for me this episode, and I feel like I agree with you. I thought she was my favorite in the acting challenge, and maybe I'm not ranking them for the right reasons. I kind of am giving more weight to if they made me laugh than if they were technically good at acting. I think it was kind of a mix of the two for how I ranked it. So that's like but definitely more weighted towards the making me laugh than than the technical abilities. Um, but Georges's was just so funny. It was memorable. I can still picture her like being slapped like 5 times in a row by RuPaul and like jumping up on the chair, and her outfit and her wig, that square ass wig, I love. Big fan. And then on the runway, I think she just said like she took it right out of the box, and that got another laugh out of Ru. I think she's just really come into her element, and she really has some mojo now from her doing so well last week. That I'm really excited to see how Georges does in the rest of this competition. And I thought she killed it in the acting challenge again. So I could have seen her there over, maybe not over Nina, even though I personally ranked Georges higher and enjoyed Georges more than Nina in this episode. But definitely over Angeria. I was expecting almost to see Georges there. But I don't know, maybe that's not everybody's opinion, but I really enjoyed her the most this episode in the acting challenge. The look, I can't say much more about it. It's not great. I think I will do a little bit of re-ranking, and I can't in good faith put this. I'm looking at it blown up now, like it's a little bit bigger, and I can see the details. I can't in good faith rank this above Roxxxy's look. So I think this is my least favorite look of the night. It's basic and it's not great. It doesn't look bad. None of the looks were bad. And I do have a newfound love for Georges now. I was never on the Georges hate train either, but I'm just excited to see what she does for the rest of the competition.
Yeah, there's definitely, you're right, a newfound confidence in Miss Georges here, but the best part of her outfit is that little like handkerchief that she brought out that revealed the little diamond thing. That is the best part of that outfit. Let's be real here. Jack, what were your thought here on Miss Georges tonight?
So I have a different way that I was, I guess, judging the girls than the rest of y'all because I put her as one of my least favorite of the night. Actually, I think she was my least favorite in the acting scene, and it's not that she did necessarily a bad job because I don't think anyone really did a bad job tonight. I think it really came down to the fact that it just wasn't like I don't remember what she was doing this about. I don't remember the concept in the slightest. I just remember it being Georges coming in there. She didn't even take the notes well. RuPaul was like, uh, you're supposed to be a stoner. I didn't get stoner vibes at all from her. She's supposed to be stoned and come from the thing. And I was like, what is going on? She's like, I am that bitch, or like, I am here, or something. And she was supposed to slow it down. And it still came out like, I am here, I am that bitch, or something. And I was like, girl, no, no, no. You're supposed to be like, and I am here now, or something. And I was like, girl, it was not a hard no. And I know she didn't finish school, but come on, girl. You didn't have to read this. It was said to you. Now, that being said, um, the square hair was probably the best part of it. And her slaps, here's the danger of doing multiple slaps in a shot. Each slap can feel less and less realistic, and it did. And that's what kind of threw me out, especially for Georgia's performance. Again, she didn't do a terrible job. And I think Georgia's definitely is going to get like most improved award at the end of the season. And that's kind of I think what they're putting us with Georgia's is they're wanting us to see her as like the most improved girl of all time, like of the season. At least in the challenges, not on the runway. Definitely not on the runway. So the runway, let's get into that. My least favorite of the night. The best thing I thought was the black top part of the coat. That I think that coat was like what minx or something, some kind of fur. Looked all right, and then the handkerchief with the diamonds was kind of cool. But this bitch had the audacity to have on like I don't know, was that a black dress or a skirt? It looked kind of look like doilies almost, black doilies at the bottom of it. I was like, girl, my grandma would be wearing this if she wore black. You know what I'm saying? And then the shoes, I was like, if you're gonna do a reveal like this and you're gonna keep the same shoes each time, the shoes should match. And honestly, without the handkerchief, the shoes were just kind of there, and I wasn't really feeling the shoes. And I was like, okay. Oh, and the wig. Oh, girl, that wig was so cheap. Girl, I gagged when I saw it. I said, bring back the square hair. It might have been bad, but at least it didn't look as cheap. It just hadn't been done. You know, it came out the box square like that. I was like, can we bring back that square hair and actually redo it? Come on. And then she had the audacity to do that reveal into the Georgia special, which is again a short dress. It's like a short cocktail dress with a fringe on there in case you have to dance or something and move in it. So it shows the movement. I get it. I love it. It can look great. But if you do it every single week, I mean, last week she didn't do it. Okay, fair. But every week before that, okay. Other than the puppy look that I'm still traumatized by, I think it was it. Because I know she spent a lot of that money on that one. I was like, you know how much bitches be spending on their fursuits and shit like that, probably? I was like, Georgia's girl, I don't think this was worth it, honey. But you know, that's my opinion. Georgia's got 8th place on both categories for me. I see most improved, but I will say in Georgia's defense, I've never really been a Georgia's fan. Obviously, she gets clear favoritism from Rue, but she did earn one of her badges.
Okay. Well, at least
And I can't say that for all the girls that have badges.
at least we're ending with a, I would say, compliment sandwich, but there was never a top layer of bread on that sandwich, so yeah, I guess it depends on what you're judging these challenges on, and I mean, who knows what we're supposed to criterias, we're supposed to judge them on, like most of these challenges here. So, it's all personal preference at the end of the day. So, yeah, I personally think Georges is on an upward trajectory. So, I personally kind of am kind of hoping that maybe she'll get another moment or two to shine here. I thought this was that moment, but guess not. Um. Let's move to our next guest, or not guest. Well, our next queen here, Gottmik, who is I honestly, if I could be very real, I don't remember much about Gottmix either. Outside of like it felt like she was taking things like a lot more seriously. So I do kind of get that, like in the beginning part, like it felt like it like a real like drama, like especially just the way she was like delivering the lines. Like I guess I believed it, if you want to say that, sure. Um, but like I said, I don't remember literally anything. Like I literally have no notes about the performance. All my notes are the facts or like what she was doing leading up to it, and the fact that she was saying that she was gonna have fun with the performance, and I didn't get fun. But I don't know. Like I said, I think by the time we got to the end here. One, Georges kind of like was like a whole breath of fresh air, so that I was still kind of recovering from that. But it felt like like I think Whisker said here, a lot of these got very repetitive by the end. So I think, but just like if I wasn't like into it in the first like 2 seconds, I kind of tuned out a little bit. So, Make unfortunately gets that spot just based off of the edit. I'll go read back and rewatch, and we'll see if I change my mind here. But um, one thing I am not changing my mind about is I love this look. This look is fucking fantastic. It's my second favorite look of the night, next to Plastique. Again, Gottmik and Plastique are just head for head for runways here. Like I feel like there could have just been a show where Gottmik and Plastique just come out on the runway. Every like just runway category is, and then just have them face off. Like just have this be a show. Like, this would be so good. But I think we were talking about it too, and I'll kind of let Jack get to the small nitpicks on it. But I personally I love the concept. I love the idea of like candle wax stripping being the dress. It's a lot more creative and outside the box than I think some other people were being tonight. So can always count on Miss Gottmik for just coming out on the runway and slaying tonight. And on that note, Jack, take it away.
Yes, Gottmik in the challenge. I had a specific note for Gottmik about the challenge and beforehand, so I'm just gonna squeeze this in real quick. Um, Gottmik I thought that I wouldn't do the makeup that she normally does, the white face and stuff for the challenge, because I didn't really realize what the challenge was about. And then I realized, oh, it's supposed to be them, but in the scene, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. But I also wanted to say that as far as her moment during this episode, where they were talking about like a lot of trans men are like more muscular and stuff, and like sometimes I struggle with toxic masculinity. I just wanted to bring up that I feel for them, and I hope that they're doing better now. As far as for me, at least where I'm from in the Midwest, a lot of the trans men that I have interacted with and that I am around, it's never been a thing to be like, you have to be super muscular or super masculine. But like, I don't know if that's just something we do in the Midwest a little differently. I know Gottmik's from a different part of the US than I am, so but hopefully they're not like down about that. I know I'm not like Gottmik's biggest fan, but as far as that, I just want to tap on that note. For me, her performance in the acting challenge, though, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was kind of safe, kind of funny. She was having a good time with RuPaul. You could see that, like they were bantering a little bit outside of like the dialogue. And she even said at one point, I think, like, I wish they had showed this in the actual scene. So I thought that was kind of funny. I enjoyed that little part between them. As far as the did I think she like did the best? No, but I still think she did pretty well in the acting scene. I still put her above like Angeria, for example. So I'm not saying rigged, but for me, it was better than Angeria's was. I love this candle look. I love the I love the concept of it. Like love that it's supposed to be dripping down and everything, and it looks pretty good. I just have some nitpicks about, I guess, the shoes specifically and the skirt part of the dress, I guess, where I just feel like the wax should drip a little differently here. It's like too symmetrical, I guess. I wish it had interpreted the same way that the off the hip part had done with the, I think what she said, it was latex. Um just the way that it dripped onto the body, I think it would have made an even bigger impact if it had gone, you know, fully in the same way as these candles, because most of the candles are off her shoulder and the one in her hand, but it didn't really give me like making the rest of the body kind of thing. It's a great look. It's not my favorite of the night, only because that detail kind of takes me out of it. Still think she does great on the runway though. Um, Overall, I think she still did better than someone who got the top two. I'm not going to call this a rigor again, because this is one of them challenges you can put anyone in the top or bottom. But overall, pretty good week for her. Glad to see that she's out of her head from last week. Was kind of hoping she was going to be a possible runner for the third slot, in my opinion, for like who we'll see in the top three at the end. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. But it was a
Yeah,
good week.
yeah, I'm kind of a little worried for Gottmik here too, as far as that finale spot. It seems so locked up here, but I don't know anymore. It seems a little especially at the end of this episode here too. But Whiskers, what were your thoughts here on Miss Gottmik tonight?
Yeah, I love Gottmik, and pretty much everything that Gottmik brings to the runway is going to be amazing. And I've been a fan throughout the whole season. So I was really sad to see she was kind of in her feelings, like especially in the last Untucked, when Bob was there, and just like really sad, really in her head, and you can tell. So I was kind of just hoping that that wouldn't continue on for too long, and it seems like she's kind of broken out of that, and this episode put on a pretty good performance. In the challenge, it was kind of middle of the road for me. I really wish that some of that kind of banter with RuPaul translated into the challenge. I think Gottmik could have easily won the episode if it did. Obviously it's hard for that to always translate, but it's good to see, and I'm glad they included that kind of moment, because I mean that could be something to have in your pocket in this competition. If you get RuPaul on your side and RuPaul knows that he can kind of joke with you and have those back and forth moments, I feel like that's kind of like a judging moment for Ru. I know Ru isn't really the one with the final decision, or well, maybe the one with the final decision, but there's producers and like the whole shebang. But It's good to have those moments, but it's too bad it didn't translate because I don't remember much of the acting challenge for Gottmik, unfortunately. So it just didn't translate for me. But this look, I mean, the top 2 spots for the runway are basically just reserved for Plastique and Gottmik, and sometimes they flip back and forth. But this week I had Gottmik in second. Some critiques. I didn't, despite the whole concept of the look being like wax stripping, I didn't get Candle on the first couple of looks, but that wasn't like a negative for me. I loved the look immediately, regardless of what it was or what the concept was. I think it looks cool. It's always out of the box with Gottmik. I love a lot of different aspects about the look. And now that I've determined that it is in fact candles and it's wax stripping down, I can appreciate the full concept. And I don't know, I like the boots. I like the veil kind of cape moment in the back. I love the makeup as always. It's a great look. But yeah, that's where the bar is at for Gottmik, and that is what was hit on the runway at least this week.
Yeah, I agree with you as well too. I think we had pretty similar opinions for Miss Gottmik here. So, I still would love to see Gottmik do well. I'm gonna hold out hope that Gottmik could still possibly get that third spot, but I, 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 I don't know. But you know, worst case scenario, we'll get some great looks to end this season with. So, very, very happy with, well, I wouldn't say happy with Gottmik tonight. But, well, I don't know. That was good. There's Gottmik. We'll just say that. Let's go with our final queen for the night, Miss Vanjie. And I will be honest, I was also laughing a lot with Miss Vanjie here, and I was very surprised. But again, for this one, I do understand why she was not in the top because I feel like between like if we're going with the whole situation here where like okay we're trying to be professional actors and whatnot, Vanjie still has that whole again the mirage critique where you do it once it's going to be different than the second time you do it, it's going to be different than the third time you do it. There's just a level of if Vanjie could just like they said tonight really just hone in on what it is that it is and just do a little bit of studying to really kind of make things clean and just get things down to so things can be a little bit more not just off the cuff all the time. But I do think the problem there with Miss Vanjie is she does the best when she is off the cuff. I don't think she is a scripted girl, and I don't think you necessarily have to be one or the other to do well. Obviously, in this kind of challenge, you need to do well with scripts, but I don't necessarily need that in every single queen that we have here. So I still love Angie. I thought it was a hilarious performance. Um, but as far as it being like a technically great performance, no, it was not at all whatsoever. And I understand why she was not in the top 2. I'm still like I would have been more shocked had Vanjie been in the top 2 over or Georges. So that being said, as far as this runway look goes, at first initially, I think it was just me being kind of be like, what is this category that we're dealing with? But then I'm just like, okay, it's not just I think that like the widow weep for me thing was making me think that there had to be like crying, and then we had some that were kind of like doing like a random reveal kind of thing. So I wasn't sure if like half of them got a brief that was one thing and half of them got a brief that was something else. I don't know, but I now that I get a chance to actually really look at the looks again, I really like this look on Vanjie. Like this is I love her with short hair. I think that's one thing I've really realized is that she has a very strong face. She could really, really use or really work some short hair. Um, as far as the rest of the look goes, I feel like it's just very successful. It's just a stripper is now a widow. Like, what would happen if a stripper becomes a widow? Well, now we know. And as far as everything goes, I thought it was a great night for Vanjie. Would not have been mad if she was in the top 2. Would have been mad if she was in the top 2 over Georges, but would not have been upset had she, ended up being one of our top players here tonight. Whiskers, what are your thoughts here on Miss Vanjie tonight?
Yeah, I mean, going off of the same rankings as far as what made me laugh the most, Vanjie I put in second place for me. I could kind of see that switching with like maybe a Nina or something. Because it wasn't technically the best, but that's not really what we've come to expect with Vanjie. Vanjie is just like a character. Vanjie is like her own, what's the word, an enigma. That's what Vanjie is. It's hard for her to be other characters. I feel like every character that she plays, like it's always a certain level of just, this is Miss Vanjie, hi, I'm Miss Vanjie. Like you hear it, you see it, you feel it whenever, like whatever she does. So I think there's no difference with what we saw in the acting challenge here, but because it is Miss Vanjie, it's funny, and I laughed, so I got some laughs out of it. So that's why it was higher on my list. I thought she looked beautiful in the challenge as well. I really liked her look, and just the wig kind of matched the coat she was wearing. And that's, I don't know, just anything in the acting challenge that was memorable to me. I think is big bonus points, because I don't remember a lot of it because it all just felt so much the same. So I remember her look. I remember some of her funny moments. So she was definitely higher on my list for that. As far as the look, I liked it initially, and I still give it its flowers now. I think it's a solid look. Vanjie hasn't had my favorite looks this season, that's for sure. But I think she looks great in this. Just everything I think is done really well. Um, and I just enjoy it. It's kind of like a burlesque moment a little bit, but also fits the brief of Widow. I don't know if it fits the brief as well as some of the other ones, but um, I'm not mad at it, and I enjoy it. This was also higher on my list, probably more middle high. Yeah, I had this at fourth, so I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was solid. So I overall, Miss Vanjie, I thought had a pretty strong episode.
What are your thoughts about Miss Vanjie tonight, Jack?
So I get very nervous about giving Vanjie too much credit sometimes when it comes to specifically uh when we get into these acting challenges, and she might be a little too Miss Vanjie all the time. Just because, there does need to be a difference in like your characters. You can't play the same character all the time. That being said, her character was fun. I don't know if I necessarily liked the look she did in the acting, but it was very funny. But I think for the wrong reasons, and that's probably why she didn't make my top two. She was my third place, I think, overall, because she was funny. It just, her part was also more memorable. She has this backhand that she does to RuPaul and like knocks out her eye, which again is just like, it's a detail that like maybe we didn't always think about, but it just shows how much more is written into this part than the other girls' part. Like it's a very funny physical comedy kind of moment that not everyone gets the same thing for. That being said, she still did a great job. It's just again, she's leaning way too much into I'm Miss Angie all of the time. And so, as much as I love that, and I think it's so funny, was it really the character she was supposed to be constantly playing, where she was a dancer, not a stripper kind of thing? I don't know. You decide, America. I don't think so. So, for me, that was kind of like a. Now, that being said, her runway look, I was a little nervous about because I saw the big coat at first. I saw the umbrella. I was like, okay, I live for this. The hair, everything. And so I was shocked when she took this off. I was like, at first, I was like, oh, is this too basic? And then I started looking. I was like, I like all of the details. And this is another one of those. It can be simple as long as the details are correct. The lace on the umbrella matches her outfit. The shoes aren't taking away from anything. They look right on both the coat and without the coat. You know, she's a little she's a little jeweled up, maybe a few too many jewels for my liking, but again, if you're a stripper and you get widowed and you wanted to like show up, show out with the money, you're gonna bling yourself out. And good for her. She looks great. She looks amazing. When she took off the coat, I was gagged. I said, "This is body yaddy yaddy, honey." Like, you know, Vanjie has really been showing us that she is Roxy Andrews, like like little sister, like Vanjie is coming through. She learned how to be thick and juicy. She's doing it. I'm living. Sign Vanjie up to be like at least uh, a guest lecturer at the college. Like she's killing it. Love the hair, everything for me. I put it at number 3. Just a slight thing about like maybe not as much the jewelry, but actually on her neck, it didn't even look that terrible. It probably could go without it, but I loved the makeup, the hair, everything was so good. So 3 all across the board for her for me. Again, did better than someone that was in the top, in my opinion. Not saying Rigor Morris, just saying that, like, something to think about in this episode.
Yeah, we're just saying choices, right? And when it came down to those choices, it was
I mean, we
again.
need lots of choices.
I mean, RuPaul's Drag Race. Honestly, we love it. I gotta say we love it, but I think the thing that I love most about us is that we always think we know more than the judges. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm fine giving, because you know what? It's giving our opinion. We're not there, but there's also maybe it's on the editors more than for not showing us more why the judges' opinions are more correct. But you know what? I was expecting a Georges and Vanjie top 2. We got an Angeria Nina top 2. So at least for Nina, again, she got a badge. Happy that she is now in the 2 badge club. Angeria now pops up to 3 badges, and we get a lip sync for Lover Girl by Tina Marie. And I think I spent the whole lip sync, and I think Whiskers, you were there watching with me, so I think you can attest to this. I think we spent the whole lip sync just trying to figure out who it was that was lip syncing to this song before. And I think that it goes to show just how these lip syncs have been. Because I was like, I think I would have taken the Candy and Kasha lip sync over this one, honestly. Um, Whiskers, do you have an official opinion on this of which of the 2 lip syncs you would have taken?
Yeah, Candy Ho, what charity do you want to donate to? Because just what I pictured in my mind from what I remember from the season 7 lip sync, she won the lip sync over both of these queens. um, it was fine. We didn't really watch a whole lot of it. I loved the song. I kind of love when they do a throwback song on Drag Race for lip sync. I think, especially like the 80s songs, I'm assuming this was an 80s song. They just lend themselves really well to, I think, like a lip sync. So it was solid. I could have seen either of them winning. But no, the season 7 version was much better, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Jack, do you have any thoughts on the lip sync?
Of course I do. So though I was watching this not at the same time as you, 100% that both Miss Candy Ho and Mrs. Kasha Davis did better in this lip sync than both Nina and Angeria, in my opinion. And I don't feel like there was a connection to the song from either Nina or Angeria fully. And I think that's what it was. Like, I would have paid money to watch Candy Ho and Miss Kasha Davis before I'd watch one of their lip syncs. Shout out to Nina West for this being her best lip sync so far. I think it's important to note that I don't think Angeria necessarily like won this lip sync. Like, I think it was very close and it could have been anyone's win on this lip sync. That being said, was Angeria doing more? Yes. Was it too much at times? Yes. For me at least. Again, I loved that Candy Ho should have been receiving money for her charity, like you said. The lip sync did happen. It's just another lip sync of like, this season's lip syncs are not the best. End chapter.
If Candy Ho was there, it would have been honestly so much better. So much better. I think it just comes down to this is just not a group of lip sync queens, which I mean, I think that's actually a lie. I think maybe the ones that are the lip sync queens aren't winning
Gorgeous Roxy.
challenges,
Gorgeous
Yeah.
but like
Roxy, Vanjie,
it could have something to do with like who's lining up in the challenges when these songs end up coming down. I don't know, but like
Yeah.
I feel, especially after after season 16, like you could even Geneva versus Hershey is better than like all of these lip syncs here. Like I do not like I have not gotten anything from anyone at this point. I'm waiting for that moment, and I
That
know
will
it will
happen.
happen. I believe it will happen. Actually, that's not true. I think Roxy had one moment. Roxy had her moment.
Yep.
The Roxy and Vanjie lip sync was good. I'll give them that.
Yep.
Outside of that, though, eh, I'm starving. I need more. I'm not eating. I'm almost becoming malnourished. Please, please, for the love of God, give us some good lip syncs to end the rest of the season. Um, but I think you guys you're both right here. I don't think there was a clear winner. I think honestly, I would have probably given the win to Nina. Just 'cause this is probably the best lip sync she will ever have. I don't think
On
like
the
it's
stage.
clear that she grew up listening to this song. Whisker said it. She bought this mixtape when it came out, and she's been listening to it on her cassette player for 40 plus years now at this point. Like she knows the song, and so like it felt more like a Nina song. But okay, I get why they give it to Angeria. I'm not mad. I understand. I get it. But I'm very happy here that at least they're like, okay, well, Nina lost the lip sync, but since she had immunity that she didn't need to use, we're gonna give her $2,500 for her charity. So thank God she's getting something at this point, because like she could be plastique and have 3 badges and have no money still. So, um, we get to her the decision here though, and won't lie here, was fully expecting Angie come after Miss Roxy again. I would have honestly fell out. I would have died. I would have been on Team Angie forever had she done it, just because it would have been just such a bitch move that it would have just been too hilarious to pass up. You're gonna block someone, and you have a chance to block someone, you're gonna block the same person 3 times in a row. Would have been hilarious. Anyway, she decides in a moment where I thought was a little shocking at first, because she makes it seem like she's gonna give it to Plastique, but it turns out Plastique scheming from earlier in this episode might have worked out because, as y'all know, Plastique was putting it into everybody's minds that they should probably block the person who has the same number of badges as they do, so that way they can't get ahead of them because the front runners are already ahead. And I think that's just a strategy we've already been kind of speaking of. And you know what? Angie took it up on it and she blocked Gottmik. And I'm like, of all people, Gottmik, I'm like, oh, that's rough. But it's like, I get it because of all the people probably that have the possibility of really kind of popping up from the back. I think it's Gottmik. I think Gottmik would be the one. And especially because we learn next week is going to be a design challenge based on RuPaul's songs. I think Angie might have got some inside information here to go ahead and block Gottmik, knowing that she's probably going to win here. But probably not actually, but you know what? I thought it was actually a very smart choice. And I mean, she does kind of owe Gottmik to some degree, right? Gottmik's one of the people she says she needs to pay back because Gottmik blocked her. So there you go, got your revenge. Did you have any thoughts here on how everything played out?
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously surprised. I think everybody throughout the episode was expecting Plastique to get blocked, especially because that played into the storyline. But I mean, we also did see Plastique introduce that whole concept of, oh, you need to kind of take out the people that are fighting in the middle, and not the people that are on top, because the people on top are going to stay on top no matter what. Which has some truth to it. But I mean, I feel like just the way things have been going, I was very surprised when Plastique was not blocked. And I think a lot of that, you have to give credit to Plastique for kind of planting those seeds. So Plastique is really in it to win it. So I'm excited to see how that storyline kind of plays out. Because there's no way, like surely Plastique is not going to make it through many more episodes without being blocked. But I'm excited to see how that plays out a little bit. I'm really sad that Gottmik is the one that got blocked, especially after like the whole untucked like being in her head and that whole thing. But had to be done. Gottmik's a huge competitor, and just like playing it kind of intelligently. I mean, you've had a comedy challenge and an acting challenge. So you got to expect it's going to be something like concept design, fashion, and Gottmik is one of 2 or 3 people that would be at the top of the list to block. So I think with that argument, you could say, like, why not block Plastique then? Because Plastique is always going to be up there in a fashion challenge as well, and she has the most badges. So at the end of the day, I think if I was in Angie's shoes, I probably still would have blocked Plastique, but can totally see why Gottmik was blocked here. But we'll see if there's any drama. I think Gottmik will take it pretty well probably, but I don't know. We've had some drama the last couple blockings, so we'll see at the start of the next episode.
And Jack, do you have any thoughts on here on how the blocking went down?
The cut was kind of well played by Angeria in the sense that, like, I think Plastic strategy is really smart, actually, because if it were me and I was on the show, and let's say I'm Angeria at this moment, girl, be so real. Chanel and Nina in the final 3, Georges in the final 3, only if they want to have the biggest call to favoritism ever. Vanjie winning the season, no chance in hell. So right now we're looking at 4 people, probably most likely to be in the top 4, and Gottmik is one of them. And if you can't stop Roxxxy without pissing off everyone in the room and proving her point that you are an asshole and you're playing a different game, kind of thing, like, you have to think, okay, the next best option is going to be Plastique. Well, but then again, if you cut off someone else who has less badges than you, they can't catch up for at least 2 full weeks. Strategically, it does make sense to go after someone who you fear will make it to the end. And at this point, she can't really pick Roxxxy without it clearly being personal. And I mean, it already was because she did it twice, right? Now it's like she can get away with Gottmik because Gottmik cut her once, kind of thing. Now Gottmik isn't happy about it, but isn't it interesting that Gottmik was also one of the girls who was kind of like on her side and was like, no, it ain't like that. Like, it's so not that at all. Roxxxy, don't feel that way about Angeria. And now I'm like, oop, how that gonna be? Because now you're out of cut by Roxxxy. She still wants to cut Vanjie if she's quote unquote going on her list of people. And so now Roxxxy's gonna cut you, probably, if she wants to get even. And Gottmik is now mad at you. I don't know if Gottmik will go for you or not, but it's possible. And I just think it's interesting that now, like, we're gonna see another person pulled into this, like, drama with Angeria. So was it a smart move in the sense of numbers game? Yeah. Could it end up backfiring and having her getting more targets on her back? Also a possibility. We'll have to see how Gottmik handles this. And I think it's interesting. But I also just want to say, since this is the 3rd time that Angeria has had to make the decision of who to block, she may be seen as more of a front runner in that sense, just because she's also won the lip syncs. But this might also be looking at a gets a lot of wins, doesn't end up winning the season kind of moment. Only time will tell, but my prediction is that Angeria won't be winning the season. Of course, obviously they'll probably record all of the top 3 winning the season, or the top 2 if they go from 3 to 2 somehow, and then they'll give us whoever the fans' reaction go to. But in my mind right now, I don't think Angeria is going to win the season.
Interesting. Even though everything is very much so Angeria versus Roxxxy. Yeah, I mean, like, I could still think, and we still have, what, 5 more episodes left of the season. Anything could possibly happen here, especially with the narrative. So who knows what could possibly happen here. I think I do kind of maybe agree with you, Jack. I think I'm slightly here more on Team Roxxxy, but one thing I did kind of just want to bring up here before we close up the podcast here. One thing first, let's go ahead and bring up our beautiful benefactors badge tracker if it's not already up already, which it probably is already will be. But let's go ahead and look at the badge count here as we have Angie, Roxxxy, and Plastique all sitting with 3 badges. Everybody else except Chanel sadly has 2 badges, and there's only probably 4 more competition episodes left. So I would say if Chanel again doesn't have a badge by next week, gonna look pretty grim for her here. But I do kind of want to bring something up, y'all, because I do look around Pride celebrations, especially because this is Pride season, and you could kind of look into these things sometimes to get maybe an eye in the future of what possibly could be, happening moving forward, right? So I recently found a Pride celebration that will be happening to kick off San Diego Pride this year. And it is a RuPaul's Drag Race featured one. It is headlined by Chad Michaels. And let me tell you, there are some season 9 queens on it, which makes me wonder, or All Star season 9 queens on it, which makes me wonder, could we be looking at our possible top 3 out of this group? And of the queens that are performing, again, this isn't really a spoiler because we can't really say anything from just this, but it definitely makes me wonder because of the All Star 9 queens that will be there. Angeria, Roxy, Chanel, and Vanjie. Well, we know Chanel probably won't come back here, or will she? But I mean, Angeria and Roxy being there, and then Vanjie there too. I got questions. I got questions, and I'm just curious. Could we possibly see our top 3 out of this group? That's kind of just my thought process on this here. But Jack, I want to give you your final chance to clip your final thoughts for the night as we head into episode 8. We will officially be 2/3 of the way into the season after next episode. So, what are your kind of thoughts here as we enter episode 8 and a design challenge next week?
You know, I'm loving that Plastique and Roxy both aren't blocked for the design challenge. I really feel bad for Chanel because she's been struggling, but I think it's possible that Chanel could see a rise in these next couple episodes, or maybe she'll have like an All-Star 7 moment where the final challenge, someone gets like a lot of badges, kind of thing, possibility. It is also possible that, maybe a lot of, oh, okay, let's be real. A lot of this is going to be manufactured to try to keep everyone at a similar level. And I think that what you mentioned about the pride thing is interesting. I guess there's a possibility where Vanjie makes top 3, but I don't think there's a possibility in any world where Vanjie wins the season. Um, so if she were our quote unquote top 3, or Chanel, for example, could be our other top 3 who like gets a lot of badges, I would think that it's very obvious that neither of them are going to win the season overall. As much as they could be loved by people, it's just not realistic in my mind. Now, if we do see a top 3 that includes Plastique, that's going to be a hard fan vote. So maybe she won't make it to the end in the top 3 specifically because of that. And they don't want to have to crown her just because of that. But she has been doing a great job so far. I will say, I know I'm a Roxy fan and I'm not Angeria's biggest fan, but I really do feel like there's been some manufacturing here about really pushing the Angeria onto us. Like, I really don't think she won this challenge. I don't even think she was in the top on the first challenge she won. And quite honestly, I don't think she was in the top in the next challenge she won either, because I don't think she was in the top any of the times. That's my personal opinion, so I think it's interesting that we're getting this Roxy versus Angeria thing, and I almost feel like it's manufactured to keep Angeria on Roxy's level. And I know some people were going to say in the comments, oh, well, Roxy got one of her badges given to her. Well, she's been doing a better job overall in the whole competition as well, and she's actually earned her badges, in my opinion. I know I'm spicy and spunky, and that's what I'm doing right now, but it's just my thoughts. Like, everyone's allowed their own opinion. That's my predictions, though. I think we're going to see Roxy in the end, regardless. Maybe Angeria because they're pushing us. And then that last spot, again, I thought it was in between Gottmik and Plastique, but maybe we see a world where Vanjie or Chanel gets pushed in there.
I mean, it's not to say it's a spoiler. Who knows? It could just be, taking Shan. Oh my god, I was gonna call her Shanji. I was gonna call her Shangela too. Maybe there's bringing oh my god, I did it again. Chanel and Vanjie. There because they're favorites. Oh my gosh.
Shanji.
I want to say Shanji because that's what we call like Shangela. Then I'm like, oh fuck, wait, Vanjie. You know what?
Miss Shanji.
Miss Shanji. Justice for Shangela. Not bring up all those three. That's just some old ones. Okay. You know what, Whiskers? I want to give you the final words for tonight's episode since we are just over 2 hours. So, want to give you our final thoughts as we head into next week.
Yeah, the San Diego Pride thing has got the wheels turning for me. I think that's very interesting that Vanjie is there as well because I totally see this Roxxxy versus Shanji Angie situation kind of playing out. That's what I feel like the edit kind of wants us to believe and wants us to be rooting for. And I'm kind of on that train. I want to see how this turns out. I want to see them block each other more times, and I want to see them go to the finale together and have one of them win. I really hope it's not a double win. I could see that for a charity season. But we'll let it play out and see how it goes. But Vanjie, I feel like is somebody that they really like. They being production, and I could see her like just getting a couple wins somehow and getting into the final. Like in All Stars 7, there was that challenge where the last challenge is just worth like double or quadruple the amount of badges, and you could just catapult yourself into the finale by winning that one last challenge. So I mean, anything is possible. Everybody's really equal right now. I didn't actually realize how even the playing field was with everybody at 3 or 2 badges besides Chanel, obviously. Still pulling for Chanel to get at least one badge. Like I think it's got to happen. But I don't know. I don't know if I see a world where Plastique doesn't make the finale at this point. I feel like we knew she was going to serve the looks. She served that and then some. They've been some of the best looks from a queen we've ever seen on the RuPaul's Drag Race runway. And she's proved herself comically as well. She's been funny. So I think she's proved herself to be well-rounded. I can't see. I mean, I can see because anything can happen, but it's very difficult for me to see Plastique not being in the finale at this point. But I don't know. I could see some twists and turns, and Vanjie is there, but Roxxxy and Angie I see as almost shoo-ins at this point. But who am I to predict? We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, honestly, it could still go a number of ways. Everything is still very close. We still have a lot of time for things to change. We still have a lot of challenges left. So who knows what production has up their sleeves? Who knows if they're going to give away some more mini challenge star or badges? Who knows what could possibly happen here? But I do think it's very interesting here that just kind of based off of edit wise, and what we're kind of looking at here that we could possibly be looking at a Angeria Roxxxy, Chanel / Vanjie, 103. But what are y'all thoughts? If y'all made it through this far, I want to thank y'all again for listening. We love to have you here. And please, please like, subscribe, and comment below because we would love to get some discussion going, especially knowing what everybody's thoughts are on the season moving forward here. Like, I would love to know if you are Team Angie, Team Roxxxy, or Team someone else. So, I would, honestly, at that point, with that being said, we'll just go ahead and close out the podcast here tonight. So again, want to thank y'all so much for listening. Much love to my co-casters, Whiskers, and Jack, as always. Appreciate y'all being here. And on behalf of them, my name is Renegayde. Till next time, y'all beautiful benefactresses, stay beautiful. Bye.
Bye.
Miss Vanjie.
Not Miss Shanji.
Not Miss Shanji. Not Miss Shanji, no.